In the center of the galaxy, where stars burned like endless lanterns, the Galactic Council gathered inside their shining hall of crystal and steel. Hundreds of species filled the chamber, beings with wings of glass, creatures with eyes like fire, and rulers whose minds reached across planets. They sat in curved rows that glowed with soft blue light, waiting for the next speaker. Today, a small and fragile species had been invited to speak, a race so young that most of the council thought it a joke. Humanity. The human envoy stood on the silver floor, alone, his voice carried by machines so every corner of the hall could hear. His uniform was plain, his body thin compared to the giant forms around him. But his voice was steady. "We come with a warning," the human said. "There is a storm moving in the dark between galaxies. It feeds on stars, it feeds on life. We have seen it. It will come here. If you do not prepare, all will fall." For a moment, silence filled the hall. Then it broke into sound, not fear, not belief, but laughter. Deep, rolling laughter from throats of stone and steel. Shrieks of joy from insect wings. The chamber shook with it. The council laughed at the warning of humankind. The chair of the council, a being with 1,000 jeweled eyes, leaned forward. "You expect us to fear shadows? Your world has just learned to reach the stars, and you dare teach us? You crawl into the void and claim monsters wait there? Humanity, you are amusing." The laughter grew louder. The human envoy's hands clenched, but his face stayed calm. He only spoke again, softer this time. "You laugh now. But when the dark comes, remember this moment. Remember who tried to warn you." The council dismissed him. Guards of bronze and gold led him out. For the rest of that day, the Galactic Council forgot his words. They returned to trade, power, and the games of empires. Humanity was nothing but a curiosity to them, a strange child at a table of gods. But humanity did not forget. Far away, on the edges of their small cluster of stars, humans had already seen the storm. It was not a storm of wind or water. It was something older, stranger, born in the black before time. Ships vanished in silence. Moons were stripped to dust. Even light seemed afraid to pass through it. Humanity had met this thing once before, in secret. And somehow, they had survived. Now, in the shadows of their colonies, humans began to prepare. They built ships not meant for trade, but for war. Silent weapons were tested in the dark space between suns. Engines burned brighter, faster, ready to move where others could not. They had been ignored, mocked, cast aside, and so they learned to grow stronger in silence. Among them were captains who carried scars from battles no one else believed. Scientists who whispered of ancient codes hidden in the storm. Children who were raised not with stories of peace, but of survival. Humanity's heart grew harder, sharper. And still, the council laughed. One night, deep in human space, a signal was caught. A fragment of sound, broken and weak, but filled with terror. It was not human. It came from a council world near the edge of the rim. The message was simple, raw, a scream of voices begging for help. Then silence. Human leaders sat in quiet rooms, listening to the broken signal play again and again. The thing in the dark had moved. The storm was no longer far. It had touched the council's own. And yet, when humanity tried once more to bring the warning, the council still turned away. Pride and arrogance blinded them. They told each other that the lost world was an accident, a failed defense, nothing more. They could not admit they had been wrong. So humanity made a choice. If the council would not listen, then humanity would act. Alone, if they must. Together, if others joined. But no longer silent. The time for waiting was over. Far from the crystal halls, in hidden hangars carved into moons, human fleets rose. Small compared to the armadas of the great empires, yes, but different. Their ships did not shine with gold, but with scars. Their weapons were not heavy, but clever. Their captains did not seek glory, only survival. The humans remembered every laugh, every word of mockery. And in that memory, they found strength. When the dark came again, the galaxy would finally see them. Not weak. Not children. But something else. Something that could break the peace of the Council forever. And deep in the silence of space, the storm moved closer. The storm moved like a shadow with no end. It swallowed stars and drifted through the rim of the galaxy, slow but unstoppable. Worlds that once shined with cities and light now hung as broken shells, silent and dark. In the council chambers, leaders argued but did nothing. They still called the disappearances accidents, still said the missing colonies were unfortunate events. Their voices were proud, but their eyes betrayed a small flicker of fear. Humanity watched. Humanity remembered. Humanity prepared. In hidden bases, deep under frozen moons and hollow asteroids, humans trained. Pilots spent days locked inside war simulators, fighting against impossible odds. Engineers built strange machines that bent light and sound. Weapons were tested. Plasma that could cut through armor, missiles that carried storms of fire, and machines so secret that even their makers feared to name them. At the center of it all was the fleet. The first true human war fleet. It was small compared to the massive armadas of the great empires, but it was built with purpose. Each ship carried scars from the old wars, battles no one else believed had ever happened. Each captain carried memories of laughter, of being ignored, of being mocked. They no longer wanted respect. They wanted survival. One night, the storm came closer. Human scouts, hidden in the dark, saw it first. They watched as the storm ate through a council patrol of 20 ships. Great warships, armed with weapons that had crushed rebellions and ended empires, were silenced in minutes. No wreckage, no escape pods. Only silence. The human scouts sent word back. For the first time, the storm was not only a story. It was here. The council still refused to listen. But the humans could not wait any longer. Orders were given. The fleet moved. The first human strike came at a small system on the rim. A world that had sent its own warning before being silenced. When the humans arrived, the planet was already half dead. Cities burned without flame. The skies were filled with strange shapes, creatures born from the storm, like machines twisted into flesh. They hunted survivors, pulling them into the void. The human fleet entered quietly, slipping between shadows. For a moment, no one noticed them. Then the storm creatures turned, their shapes glowing with strange energy. "Engage," the human commander whispered. The first human shots tore through the silence. Beams of light, rockets that cut through the black, plasma bursts that shook the skies. The storm creatures screamed, not with sound, but with vibrations that rattled bones. The battle began. Human ships moved fast, too fast for the enemy. They darted between wreckage, striking from angles no one expected. Their weapons were not the strongest, but they were clever. Mines that unfolded into 1,000 knives. Drones that slipped into the enemy and exploded from within. For the first time, the storm was slowed. But it did not break. The storm creatures adapted quickly. Beams of black energy shot from their bodies, tearing through space. A single strike could crush a human ship to dust. One by one, the fleet began to suffer losses. Pilots screamed, ships burned, names were lost. Yet the humans did not retreat. They had been laughed at. They had been ignored. Now they would show the galaxy who they truly were. The battle raged for hours. When it ended, the skies above the broken world were filled with wreckage, both human and storm. The planet below was not saved, but it was not taken either. For the first time in history, the storm had been stopped. The survivors on the planet looked up and saw human ships still burning, still fighting, refusing to fall. To them, humanity was no longer weak. Humanity was hope. The Council could not ignore this battle. Across the galaxy, their networks lit with reports. Humans engaged the storm. Humans slowed it. Humans saved a world the Council had abandoned. The laughter in the Council chambers faded. Fear took its place. But with fear came something else, anger. Many leaders did not like the thought of humans standing where they had failed. They whispered to each other, if humans can fight this storm, what else can they do? If they rise, will they challenge us next? Jealousy and pride burned in their hearts. But humans did not care. They buried their dead, repaired their ships, and prepared for the next battle. Because they knew this was only the beginning. The storm was endless. This small victory was nothing more than the first step. And deep inside the storm, something stirred. Something greater than the creatures they had faced. A mind. A will. A hunger that reached across stars. It had noticed humanity. The council chamber no longer echoed with laughter. The news of humanity's battle had spread through every star system. Videos of human ships fighting in the dark played across 1,000 worlds. For the first time, the galaxy had seen the storm beaten back, even if only for a moment. But the council was not proud. They were afraid. Fear did not bring them closer together. It pushed them apart. Inside the shining crystal hall, voices clashed. Leaders shouted in their own tongues, their words translated by machines, but the meaning was clear. The storm was dangerous, yes, but so was humanity. They are too small to win alone, said one voice. If they fight and survive, what will they become? They are reckless, said another. They fought without orders, without permission. They act like a power equal to us. We cannot allow this. The chair of the council, with its 1,000 jeweled eyes, remained still. Finally, it spoke. Humanity is bold. Humanity is dangerous. We must decide if they are our weapon, or our enemy. The chamber fell silent. In the shadows of the council, secret deals began. Spies were sent to watch human fleets. Envoys whispered promises of alliance, while carrying orders to keep humanity weak. On paper, the council praised them for their bravery. In truth, many wished humanity had fallen. Meanwhile, far from the council, humanity prepared for war. The human commander, Admiral Kalen, stood on the deck of his flagship. His face was tired, his uniform worn, but his eyes were sharp. Before him floated the wreckage of the last battle. Pieces of human ships drifted like bones. Among them, the bodies of friends and soldiers, lost to the storm. We slowed it, Kalen said softly, more to himself than anyone else. But we did not stop it. Next time, it will come stronger. Behind him, his officers waited. They knew the truth. The storm was learning. Every battle made it smarter. Every strike made it stronger. And now, it had noticed them. The storm was no longer blind. Across the galaxy, strange signals began to appear. Not words. Not numbers. Just whispers. Faint pulses that echoed inside machines, inside minds. Sometimes they sounded like voices. Sometimes they sounded like screams. Ships that listened too long were lost. Human scientists worked day and night, trying to decode the whispers. Some thought it was communication. Others thought it was a weapon. A few believed it was something worse. The storm was watching. Admiral Kalen received a private message from Earth. It was not from politicians, not from leaders, but from the secret council of human scientists who had studied the storm since its first appearance. The message was simple. Do not trust the Galactic Council. They will betray you. The storm is older than them all. And it is not only destruction. It is alive. Kalen read the words again and again. Alive. A storm that thought. A storm that wanted. He felt the weight of it pressing against his chest. Meanwhile, in the crystal halls of the Galactic Council, a new plan formed. We cannot destroy the storm yet, the jeweled chair said. But we can destroy the seed of rebellion before it grows. Humanity has shown teeth. If they are not contained, one day they will bite us. And so, fleets of the great empires began to move. Not toward the storm but toward human space. Officially, they came as protection against further attacks. Secretly, they came to watch, to limit, to control. The humans noticed. They always noticed. Scouts brought back reports of council ships patrolling near colonies. Traders whispered of spies hidden in ports. Even allies who spoke kindly carried eyes too sharp, smiles too false. But humanity did not break. They had faced the storm. They had buried their dead. They had heard the whispers in the dark. Now they understood, they were truly alone. And perhaps, being alone was their greatest strength. One night, as the fleet rested near a quiet star, Admiral Kalen stood alone at the viewport. The black stretched forever, full of silent lights. And in that silence, he heard it, the faint whisper softer than a breath. It was not human. It was not council. It was the storm. You are different. The words were not sound, not language, yet Kalen understood them. His blood froze. The storm had spoken. Not to the council. Not to the galaxy. But to humanity. And in that moment, he knew the truth. The storm did not see the council as a threat. It did not see the great empires, with their shining fleets, as enemies. It had seen humanity, small, fragile humanity, and it had chosen them. The storm was coming for them. The storm's whisper haunted Admiral Kalen. Even when he tried to sleep, he heard it in the silence of his mind. You are different. The words carried no sound, no language, yet they struck him like a blade. Humanity had always been ignored, mocked, treated as children among giants. But the storm, something older than empires, something that consumed stars, had chosen to notice them. Why? Kalen did not share the message with the council. He did not trust them. Their fleets now hovered at the edges of human space, pretending to offer protection. But their eyes watched too closely, their movements too controlled. Humanity had not asked for their help. Humanity knew the truth. The council feared them almost as much as it feared the storm. On Earth, the leaders argued in secret rooms. Some wanted to accept the council's alliance. Others warned that the council only wished to chain them. But the whispers from the storm could not be ignored. Scientists, pale from sleepless nights, shared recordings of strange signals echoing inside human ships. The storm was speaking. And it was speaking only to humanity. Meanwhile, far in the crystal halls, the council argued louder than ever. The jeweled chair raised its 1,000 eyes. The humans are reckless. They fight without us. They rise too quickly. If they continue, they may outgrow us all. Some agreed. Others shook their heads. But they are the only ones who have slowed the storm, one voice said. Without them, we would already be falling. The chair's voice grew cold. If the humans are allowed to rise, they will not stop at slowing the storm. They will demand a seat at this table. And once they sit here, they will never leave. The council did not vote for war. Not openly. But fleets were already moving. Orders were already written. If humanity grew too strong, they would be cut down. Admiral Kalen knew this. Scouts brought him reports of council patrols creeping closer. A human colony near the rim was, accidentally, blockaded by alien ships. Traders carrying supplies were searched, slowed, sometimes never returned. The council was not an ally. It was a cage. But while the council plotted, the storm prepared something else. In the dark between galaxies, its shape shifted. It was not only chaos, not only destruction. It was alive. It had no single body, no single mind. It was many voices woven together into one. And now, a small part of that voice had reached into Kalen's thoughts. One night, he stood again at the viewport. The stars burned silently. His ship was at rest, engines low, crew asleep. And then, the whisper returned. You fight. You survive. The others do not. Kalen's chest tightened. He spoke aloud, though no one was there. What are you? The silence answered. Then, slowly, words formed in his mind. We are hunger. We are storm. We are end. But you are not like the others. You are sharp. You are many. You change. Kalen gritted his teeth. Why destroy worlds? Why kill? The whisper seemed to tremble, as if curious. Because that is what we are. We consume. We grow. The others are weak. But you resist. That is new. Kalen felt his blood run cold. The storm was not mindless. It was not blind destruction. It was a predator. And it had just discovered prey that could bite back. The next day, Kalen gathered his closest officers. He told them what he had heard. The room fell silent. Some faces paled. Others clenched fists. So it spoke to you? One asked. Yes, Kalen said. And it will speak again. Not to the council. Only to us. Then we cannot share this, another officer whispered. If the council learns, they will turn on us fully. They already fear us. This would give them reason to strike. Kalen nodded. We are alone in this fight. We cannot trust the council. We can only trust ourselves. But the council was already moving. That same week, a human convoy carrying supplies to the front was ambushed. Council warships, flying the banner of inspection, opened fire. They claimed later it was a mistake. Too many weapons, too much tension. But the humans who survived knew the truth. It was not a mistake. It was a warning. The message spread quickly through human space. The council is not our friend. The council wants us weak. Rage grew in the hearts of humanity. They remembered the laughter. They remembered being ignored. Now they remembered betrayal. And in the silence of deep space, the storm whispered again. They fear you. We see you. You are different. Kalen's jaw tightened. He did not know if the storm was trying to tempt them or simply telling the truth. But one thing was certain. The galaxy was no longer divided between the council and the storm. Humanity now stood in the middle, alone, marked by both. And soon, they would have to choose who to fight first. The first shot of the war was not fired by humans. It was fired by the council. In the rim system of Telera, a human outpost was surrounded by council ships under the claim of joint security. 4 days, they circled the colony, their bright hulls glowing in the starlight. The humans kept their shields up but stayed silent. Everyone knew tension hung in the air. Then, without warning, a council cruiser fired. The outpost's defense tower exploded in flames. The council later called it a misfire. But the humans on Telera knew the truth. It was no accident. It was a message. Within hours, Admiral Kalen's fleet was on the move. Human ships jumped into Telera space, forming a wall between the colony and the council forces. For the first time, human guns aimed not at the storm, but at the so-called guardians of the galaxy. The two sides faced each other in silence, weapons armed, shields glowing. The council commander demanded surrender. Kalen gave his answer with a single word. Fire. The sky erupted. Beams of light slashed across the void. Missiles streaked between ships, leaving trails of fire. Human fighters darted like hornets, striking fast and vanishing into shadows. Council cruisers, massive and proud, roared back with overwhelming firepower. The battle shook Telera's skies. Civilian colonists huddled in bunkers, listening as the heavens burned above them. The council expected an easy victory. Their fleets had ruled for centuries. Their weapons had crushed empires. But the humans did not fight like other races. They did not stand in straight lines. They did not fight for pride. They fought for survival. Every ship, every pilot, every shot mattered. Human frigates wove through the enemy like needles through cloth, cutting weak points, breaking lines. Mines exploded in sudden bursts, tearing apart council engines. In the middle of the chaos, Kalen's flagship drove forward, striking at the heart of the enemy formation. The council commander watched in disbelief as ship after ship fell. Impossible, he hissed. They are only humans. But the truth was clear. Humanity had been underestimated for too long. The battle ended with fire and silence. Dozens of Council ships burned, their wreckage drifting across the system. The humans had lost many too, their small fleet scarred and bleeding, but they had not fallen. They had held their ground. News of the battle spread like wildfire. Across the galaxy, whispers began. The humans fought the Council. The humans survived. The humans bled the great fleets. Some species cheered in secret, tired of the Council's arrogance. Others trembled, fearing what this meant for the fragile order of the galaxy. And in the dark, the storm listened. Admiral Kalen stood on the deck of his flagship, staring at the wreckage around Telera. His face was hard, but inside his chest he felt the weight of every name lost. "This is only the beginning," he said quietly. That night, the whisper returned. "You fight them. You fight us. You are alone." Kalen clenched his fists. "We fight because we must." The storm's voice shifted, strange and cold. "The others are weak. They laugh. They betray. We devour them. But you cut the dark. You are sharp. You are many." Kalen's heart pounded. "What do you want from us?" The silence stretched before the whisper came again. "Join. Survive. Or burn." Kalen stepped back, breath heavy. The storm was not only watching now. It was offering a choice. When he told his officers, they argued. Some said the storm was only a trick. Some whispered that maybe it was right. The Council would never be a true ally, and perhaps the storm could be turned. But Kalen knew the truth. The storm did not want peace. It wanted hunger. To join, it would mean becoming part of its endless destruction. And yet, he also knew humanity could not fight both forever. On Earth, leaders debated with fury. Some wanted to reach out to smaller species, offering them protection against the Council. Others demanded silence, isolation, and preparation for the storm. A few whispered a dangerous thought: what if the storm could be bargained with? Kalen did not know which path was right. He only knew time was running out. In the crystal halls of the Council, rage burned. Never before had their fleets been beaten back by such a small race. The jeweled chair's 1,000 eyes glowed with fury. "Humanity has broken the peace," the chair declared. "Humanity must be crushed." And so, new fleets were prepared. Armies gathered. The Council no longer pretended to be an ally. Humanity was now an enemy. But in the shadows between stars, the storm stirred and whispered again, louder this time. "You are different. You are chosen." Kalen looked out at the stars, his heart heavy. Humanity now stood at war with the Council, hunted by the storm, caught between two powers greater than anything they had ever faced. And yet, for the first time in history, humanity was not ignored. The galaxy was watching. The war with the Council had only just begun when the storm finally moved against humanity. For weeks, scouts had reported strange shapes at the edge of human space, flickers of shadow, stars vanishing for seconds at a time, whispers that grew stronger on every ship. At first, people thought it was fear, nothing more. But then the signals changed. The whispers became clear. "We are coming." It began in the Hades system, a quiet colony near a red sun. Farmers grew food beneath domes of glass. Children played in low gravity. The colony had no fleet, no defenses beyond a few patrol ships. They thought the Council fleets surrounding human space were their biggest danger. Then the sky split. The storm poured in like a living night. Clouds of black energy twisted into forms that were not ships, not creatures, but something in between. They tore through orbit, swallowing patrols whole. On the planet below, people watched the sky turn dark. Their comms filled with static. Their cries for help echoed into silence. When Admiral Kalen received the distress call, he was already moving his fleet after another Council blockade. He stopped cold. His officers looked at him, waiting for orders. The storm has chosen its first target, Kalen said. His voice was steady, but his hands clenched. Hades will not fall. Set course. The fleet turned. Hours later, human ships dropped into the Hades system and saw hell waiting. The planet's sky was burning. Thousands of storm creatures twisted above it, their bodies glowing with black fire. Human patrols were gone. The colony's defenses were shattered. Kalen's fleet had faced the storm before, but never like this. This was not a raid. This was not a probe. This was a strike, meant to erase. Form the wall, Kalen ordered. Human ships spread into formation, weapons charging. Fighters darted out like sparks, diving into the black tide. Missiles streaked forward, exploding in flashes of light. Plasma beams tore through the dark. For a moment, the sky looked alive with fire. The storm screamed back. Beams of black energy lanced through human ships, cracking armor like glass. Creatures latched onto hulls, tearing with claws of light. Whole ships were swallowed, their signals vanishing as if they had never existed. But humanity did not retreat. They fought with desperation, every strike filled with fury. For each ship they lost, they destroyed 2 of the storm's creatures. For every scream in the comms, another enemy burned. The battle dragged on for hours, the sky above Hades filled with wreckage. On the surface, colonists huddled in bunkers, listening to the thunder of war. They prayed, cried, waited. Then, through the fire, they saw it, the burning shapes of human ships still standing, still fighting, refusing to fall. Kalen's flagship drove into the center of the storm swarm. His face was pale, his voice raw, but his will unbroken. Push them back. Do not let them take this world. And somehow, against all odds, the humans held. When the last storm creature fell, silence returned. The skies cleared. The colony was scarred but alive. Humanity had faced the storm head-on, not on the rim, not on someone else's world, but on their own soil, and they had survived. But survival came at a cost. Half the fleet was gone. Thousands of lives were lost. The wreckage of human ships drifted forever in the void. And worse, the whispers grew louder. Kalen stood at the viewport again, staring at the broken sky. Then the voice came. You resist. You survive. We taste your strength. Kalen gritted his teeth. We will never join you. The whisper pulsed inside his skull, almost amused. You already have. Each battle, you change. Each loss, you grow sharper. You are becoming like us. Kalen froze. For the first time, he felt not only fear of the storm, but fear of what it saw in humanity. On Earth, news of the Hades battle spread like fire. People cheered survival, but the cheers were hollow. Everyone knew the truth. The storm had finally chosen humanity as its enemy. It would not stop. And in the council chambers, the jeweled chair whispered to its allies. Good. Let the storm devour them. When both are weak, we will strike and finish what they began. 2 enemies. 1 storm, endless and alive. 1 council, jealous and cruel. And humanity, standing alone between them, bleeding but unbroken. But far in the dark, beyond even the storm, something else stirred. A shadow greater than what had come before. A presence that had only begun to notice. The real war had not even started. The galaxy burned. The Council had declared full war on humanity. Fleets of every great empire swept into human space, their banners shining, their voices calling humanity a dangerous threat. At the same time, the storm pressed harder than ever, pushing through the rim like a living ocean of black. For the first time in history, 2 enemies, so different, so vast, closed in on the same small race. Humanity stood at the center of the storm and the Council's fury, with nowhere left to run. Admiral Kalen knew this was the final moment. He called the last human fleet together above Earth itself. Dozens of scarred ships gathered in orbit, their hulls dark with battle marks, their crews weary but unbroken. Families on the planet below looked up at the night sky, where human lights shimmered among the stars. "We are the line," Kalen said to his officers. His voice was low, steady, carrying across the comms to every ship. "The Council thinks us weak. The storm thinks us prey. Tonight, we prove them both wrong." The humans did not cheer. They only nodded, silent and determined. Then the sky tore open. First came the Council fleet. Hundreds of warships dropped from hyperspace, forming a wall of gold and steel. They spread out, surrounding Earth. Behind them, their commanders spoke words of false justice, demanding surrender. Kalen gave no answer. Because at that same moment, the storm arrived. It poured into the system like a sea of night, its creatures shrieking with lightless voices. It did not wait, did not speak. It attacked. Council ships fired instantly, blasting storm creatures apart. For a moment, the sky turned into chaos. Council fleets and storm swarms tearing at each other above Earth. Kalen saw his chance. "Now!" he shouted. The human fleet surged forward, striking at both sides. They did not fight like the Council, with heavy lines and slow moves. They slipped through shadows, cutting weak points, setting traps. The Council expected them to break under fire. The storm expected them to be devoured. But the humans had grown sharper with every loss, stronger with every wound. Missiles ripped through Council engines. Plasma fire tore storm creatures apart. Drones danced between the two enemies, exploding where chaos was thickest. The battle was no longer Council versus storm versus human. It became a storm of all three, burning the skies of Earth in fire and shadow. On the ground, humanity watched. People in cities, children in bunkers, old soldiers who had thought their fighting days were over, all stared upward as the heavens themselves turned into war. Kalen's flagship dove through the heart of the chaos. Council cruisers tried to block his path, but he cut through them, one by one. Storm creatures lashed at his hull, but his gunners burned them away. Every step forward cost blood, but he refused to stop. Because he had heard the storms whisper, "You are different. You survive." And tonight, he would prove it true. The storm surged harder, wrapping around Council fleets, breaking them apart. The jeweled chair's voice screamed across comms, demanding retreat, demanding order. But the Council fleets were already collapsing. And then, for the first time, the storm's true core appeared. A vast shape, larger than any fleet, formed above Earth. It was not a ship. It was not a creature. It was something older, something endless, a dark star burning with hunger. Its voice thundered across every human mind. "We are the end. You cannot resist." Kalen stared at it, his hands trembling. But then he spoke, his voice carried to every ship, every fighter, every soul. "We are humanity. We are the ones you laughed at. We are the ones you ignored. We are the ones who survive. And we will not fall." The humans answered not with cheers, but with fire. Every weapon burned. Every ship struck. They threw everything they had into the black star above them. The battle shook the skies. Council fleets broke and fled, shattered by storm and human fire alike. The storm's great shape howled as human weapons cut into it, piece by piece. It did not fall completely, but it staggered, weakened, forced back into the void. When the light cleared, the storm was gone. The Council had fled. And humanity remained. The skies above Earth were filled with wreckage, with silence, with the scars of endless war. But humanity had not been erased. They had stood against gods and monsters. They had fought both the Council and the storm. And they were still here. Admiral Kalen stood on his bridge, his eyes tired but burning with fire. "Today," he whispered, "the galaxy saw us. Not as weak. Not as children. As survivors." On worlds across the stars, whispers spread. The humans had fought the Council. The humans had held against the storm. The humans had shattered the balance of power. For the first time, the galaxy feared them. For the first time, the galaxy respected them. But far away, in the endless dark, The storm whispered once more. You survived today. But tomorrow, we return. Kalen heard it. And he only smiled, cold and sharp. Then we'll be ready.